interrupt this program with a special report.
I got a message for all you folks out there in Radio Land, so sit tight and bend an ear.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Manga Monday podcast. My name's Ben, and I'm with a co-host, Edgar.
Co-host? My name's Edgar. Hi.
Yeah, his name is Edgar. That's great.
The co-host.
The co-host. The one and only.
Yeah.
How was your week this week, Edgar?
It was great.
That's
yeah.
great.
Nothing uneventful happened, definitely. I can't imagine if a single thing happening on any stage whatsoever, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, no, nothing happened this week out of the ordinary, I don't think. Anything, you watched anything big this week?
The final episode of My Dress Up Darling
Darling.
happened. It's great. The animation on that last episode is absolutely amazing. If
Right.
I know you haven't caught up with it, but
Nope.
Man, that was gorgeous. That was like absolutely. I think Cloverworks did it, and I'm only more hyped for what they have now. But that show was great. It was good to watch.
Yeah.
And the animation was amazing, wholesome. Go check it out. That's what I watched.
What else does Cloverworks do? Do you know?
They did, to my memory, they did The Promised Neverland, and that might get like a lot of groaners, but they animated it very well. It's just the producers, I guess, or the higher ups that decided to screw up the show. Animators have nothing to do with that, so they animated that. It was a great adaptation, at least the first season. And then they're doing Spy Family along with Wit Studios. So two big goats combining for Spy Family that's coming out this spring season. So they're doing that. I can't honestly say what else Cloverworks has done. If you look it up, they've done a lot of things. They're a very big studio.
Great. Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm excited for that, and I'm sure I really want to read Promised Neverland, just like I want to read Fairy Tale.
I've heard
a couple things about both of those.
There's just some series that, I mean, Promised Neverland was one of those series where I binged like in like 1 week. It was just that good. The first season is like really something else, and it's like I've never been. There's like I think I've only binged 5 things. Like I watched Attack on Titan, and Attack on Titan is like probably one of my favorite shows, if not my favorite, and it's so good. But I don't even think I binged it just as fast as I did with shows like Promised Neverland. Just because of how addictive and tense and like great the pacing was. So I'm probably going to pick up the manga because they did a disservice to that on the second season. So it goes up there.
Yeah, that's great. All right.
And what do you watch anything or read anything?
Did I watch anything? Yeah, I'm trekking through 3 mangas right now. Yeah, I'm reading.
Well, I'm reading that many too, but
yeah, I'm reading Vagabond. But I think you and I read very differently. Like I read slow. I read very slow.
Well, I read like. It depends. Like, I'll go like on I remember I started a new series, Twin Star Exorcist, and then I was reading that. Like, I read like the chapters for that series are like 50 pages.
Yeah.
But I read like 10 chapters. That doesn't sound like a lot, but 50 pages each chapter. So I read like a lot in like one day. But I usually read weekly whenever a weekly series comes out, and it really depends on the series. But you said you read slow.
Yeah, I read slow. I'm reading through Vagabond right now. I've been reading that for about a month. I'm reading through Vigilantes, My Hero Vigilantes. It's not as great as everybody says it is. I think it's fantastic.
You're one of the few people that I know even read it.
Like, well, I love everything My Hero, but Vigilantes, a lot of people say is better than the main series. I'm on volume 6, which is halfway through, and it's not quite there yet, but maybe it will get there. But I still love it. I still enjoy reading it. That's why I'm continuing to read it and buy the volumes. And then I started reading Hell's Paradise last week.
That is getting an anime adaptation, is it not?
By MAPPA.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
I'm reading that author. I can't remember his name. It's Yuji something or something.
Yeah.
His second series. I'm reading that Ayoshiman. I don't know how to pronounce it. Ayoshiman. It's about the Yakuza in Japan, and like they have like different abilities and whatnot. I'm reading that, and it's just funny that you're reading
Yeah.
the one that everyone's talking about, and I'm reading his new one that like apparently isn't doing so well in Shonen Jump. But either way, I'm enjoying it. So
yeah, it's great. And Hell's Paradise, the pacing is immaculate. It's a very, very good series, and I'm only 20 chapters in, and it's only 130, and it's a short read, which is great. I'm also trekking my way through Cowboy Bebop. And I do
watching that, right?
Yeah, watching that. I do like one episode.
Does
a
it
week,
have a manga?
So it has mangas, but it does not one from the main series. But yeah. Also, the One Piece chapter this week was phenomenal. And it was
1044.
Yeah, it was
45.
I think it's 44. It was the best chapter in recent memory.
I have never seen anyone hype up a chapter. They were hyping it up like before then. They were telling people who spoiled and read scans to not read those spoilers and scans.
Yeah, Edgar hasn't read manga yet.
But I haven't read it, and I'm not like, I don't like anything. I mean, in terms of like posts, like I don't read that stuff because I'm obviously like not into it. But I just saw it like everywhere. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was hyping it up.
Me and my friends, we all read it together, and we were so hyped.
Did
were like,
did it meet it?
Oh my god!
So it met it? Like
it met it. It met it.
I gotta
Oda
know.
could have gone 100,000 different ways, and this was the right one for me. There are people out there who, of course, say, "Oh, it's but I think they're wrong, and I think it was the best One Piece chapter. But that's just me.
Of all time?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a feat to beat.
Definitely, because I have a lot of favorite chapters, but that one's up there. Definitely.
That was just impressive to watch, just to see how many people in that I wasn't like affiliated or like around with were just mentioning it so much. So I never, I don't think I've seen a chapter other than like ending chapters are different because it's an ending of a manga. So like ending chapters, like the final chapter of Attack on Titan, I remember that, but that was like the final chapter. So like of course people are gonna be talking about that, but I've never seen like a specific chapter. And it's kind of, I mean, it's One Piece. It makes sense, but I've just never seen that with any other chapters of One Piece before.
Yeah. But this is the end of the second act of One Piece, which is pretty big,
Second act.
Yeah, it's the second act. But I have a feeling the third act is going to be much shorter than a lot of people think.
So you say.
Yeah. Because
30 years later, we'll...
right. Because everything's kind of convening. It's very much like the first... It's very much like... It's like the movies before Infinity War. Yeah. It's like the movies before Infinity War where it happened. But anyway. So, Edgar, I got some news.
Give it to me.
Do you want to hear the news?
Sure, I got some for you too, but you go first.
News. Okay. So the big one is the last one. So we'll go off just a couple of here.
Gotcha.
Tsukasa's Hojo's City Hunter manga to be published in English. Descriptions: Ryo Sabi, aka City Hunter, a sweeper who fulfills all his clients' needs. He'll do anything from bodyguarding to contract killing, but he'll take the job if a pretty woman is involved.
Okay.
City Hunter ran from 1985 to 1991 and has 35 volumes, but has never gotten an English publishing. So this is because I thought this was interesting because there are a lot of mangas in the 80s just because manga and anime wasn't a part of the big pop culture thing.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, that just doesn't have any English, volume adaptation.
I only know two current, not as old as that obviously, but Tokyo Revengers and Blue Lock are like two of the biggest mangas that don't have English publishing, at least in physical copies. Yeah. And they're huge. And they're both, one already hasn't started an adaptation, Tokyo Revengers. Blue Lock is getting theirs, but there's no physical volumes in English, and that's just so surprising. And the fact that this one is barely getting one after so many years, that's just weird. Yeah,
it's crazy. There are a lot of good animes and mangas in the 80s that didn't really get that respect, but it's good to see that happen. Tonari no Youkai-san, manga listed with the anime project. The manga takes place in a rural town and tells stories of the carefree, heartwarming, and sometimes mysterious lives of yokai, humans, and gods who live alongside each other in the town. The manga volume 1 will officially ship on April 7th. So a lot of people are saying this is very good. A lot of people in Japan. In America, we haven't gotten anything of this. So it's going to be fascinating to see. A lot of people think it's going to be the next big heartwarming anime. But yeah. New One Piece video game, Odyssey. Wow.
I don't play anime video games.
Yeah, I do. It depends.
Is it mobile or is it like?
No, it's a real video game. However, I want a One Piece video game that's open world and that you can create your own character and choose your own devil fruit.
That's ambitious.
It's never gonna happen.
No,
but
that's that's like the I don't know if this Hogwarts that Harry Potter game. That's just what everyone wants from a Harry Potter game. Just like pick your own a house and pick your own like whatever. Have your own wand. Pick your own. That's just what everyone wants in any major story. It's just always like they just never do it. Either maybe it's because it's just too ambitious and too
it's too
complex to do it. But those kind of games really get me.
Hogwarts I can see possibly, but One Piece is just such a big world. Like you could
It's
never.
a lot of water, man.
It's a lot of water.
It's like No Man's Sky, but like one planet, and then like just all water, and then you just like get a boat.
Right, exactly. But I think that somebody could do it, but I don't know. It would take a while.
So
but anyway,
I would play it honestly if they made it.
Yeah, definitely. But spoiler alert: this one is not that. One Piece Odyssey is a new JRPG coming in 2022 to PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox Series X, S, and PC. This is what Oda had to say about it in the most Oda way imaginable. Here, let me try and read it as my Oda voice. I thought to myself, wasn't it like 3 years ago when I designed the characters? But when I actually saw the game, wow. It felt like I was watching a movie. What incredible immersion. Oda-san.
How much do you think he got paid to say that?
A lot. Yeah.
That was
Oda,
best.
Oda's a fan of anything One Piece. Even the live action, he's anything.
He's a supporter of what he makes, and
exactly.
I appreciate that.
Exactly. I appreciate it. Here's the story synopsis. During their voyage, the Straw Hats, led by Monkey D. Luffy, are swallowed by a huge storm at sea. They end up on a mysterious island full of nature amidst the storm and become separated from each other. So this sounds like a very baseline video game, and it just takes place on one island, which is cool. And I don't think One Piece has had... they had something kind of like a JRPG, but it was more fighting based. I just don't think it's gonna be good.
Yeah, that's how most anime games go. Like Jump Force evolved.
I think Dragon Ball has a lot of good games.
Well, yeah, they're fighter games, of course. They're gonna be good. And then Demon Slayer's
Kakarot was good.
Demon Slayer's game, Hinokami
Chronicles.
Chronicles.
Yeah.
Well, that did well, and it was made by the same developers as the Dragon Ball games. So.
Yeah, definitely.
That's usually how they go.
They made Elden Ring too.
Really?
The Demon Souls games.
Yeah, I just wish the anime got like a better rap regarding games.
Definitely. Next one, The Witcher meets Japan in an upcoming manga, The Witcher Ronin.
That sounds right up your alley.
I'm very excited. The Witcher 3 is my favorite video game of all time. I hate the Netflix series, but that's okay. I like a
lot of people like that
Cavill.
series.
I know a lot of people like it, and that's fine. I refuse to watch it because I feel like, for me, Geralt of Rivia's story ended in The Witcher 3. So I don't hate it. I just haven't watched it. There you go.
All right. I can say
that. Dark Horse Comics and CD Projekt Red, which is great because that means Netflix isn't involved, are teaming up to bring fans The Witcher, a new take on the beloved universe. The Witcher Ronin will be a new manga written by Rafael Jacqui, with art by manga artist Hataya and letters by Itiyi Bidikar that combines The Witcher with rich traditions of Japanese folklore. In this world inspired by Edo period Japan, Geralt is faced with a difficult moral choice while battling a variety of yokai and oni, creatures inspired by Japanese myths. Each encounter drops a clue in his desperate search for a mysterious apparition known as the Lady of Snow, Yuki Onna, for she is the key and to the one Geralt seeks, but finding her won't be easy. Very similar to Ciri.
Yeah, but so it's not following Witcher 3 game technically. It's like he's putting him in Japan.
It's its own story. Which I think is fascinating. Fans can read The Witcher Ronin from the comic shops on October 19th and bookstores on November 1st. Good birthday present for me. Yeah. Next, Netflix. More than half of its members globally watched anime last year.
I saw that, yeah.
Director of Anime Creative of Netflix, Kohei Obara, revealed to entertainment magazine Variety on Monday that more than half of Netflix's worldwide audience watched anime last year. The number expands to 90% for Japanese Netflix subscribers.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Basically, like half of people who have Netflix watch one anime at least.
Yeah.
And that's like Absolutely amazing. I mean, 2020 we were doing nothing, so I'm pretty sure they were just clicking on whatever they can find. But that's just like
No kidding.
I'm pretty sure that spiked a huge interest in once again anime.
Yeah.
So that's like super cool to hear about.
Definitely. My Dress Up Darling adds 200 million copies. 200 million, jeez. 2 million copies in circulation since anime's premiere, make it the highest selling thing of all time. Yeah. And Jujutsu Kaisen to have 65 million copies in circulation as of April 4th.
When they say circulation, that just means how many they printed, and it's all around the world, or
Yes.
because like sold is like one thing, but circulation
is,
means like how many they printed, right?
Yeah. I still think circulation is fascinating though, just to see like 65 million of a single, series is a lot.
Yeah.
But
and it's
of
always
course,
people buy it. So
Yeah.
like it's not like they're sitting on shelves like normal books, unfortunately, are, but
Yeah.
like they buy that stuff. So
Definitely. This is the big one. The Oscars receive major backlash from animators and animation fans over belittlement of the award.
yeah.
Just to preface, I don't like the Oscars. I don't watch them. I have never liked Hollywood. I'm not a big fan of it. I enjoy the content that they create, and I love people inside of Hollywood.
Yeah.
However, Hollywood,
you say.
Hollywood as an institution as a whole, I don't like, and it's the reason why I'm probably never going.
I
to
can
move
see
to
that.
LA.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't move I wouldn't move to LA for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, exactly. So let me read this off to you. When presenters Halle Bailey, I don't know these people, Lily James and Naomi Scott, actresses who starred in the live-action remakes of Disney's animated films,
Except for
came out to present the award. The script provided for them by the Oscars writing. That's important.
Yeah, I was
Don't
going to touch
hate
on
them.
that. Yeah, I was going to touch on
Yeah.
that too, but keep going.
Yeah, staff included remarks on how animated movies are formative experiences for kids who watch them over and over. Here's what they said verbatim. All of these characters hold such a special place in our hearts because of animated films make up some of our most informative movie experiences as kids. There you go. That's the first sentence. Second sentence. So many kids watch these movies over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Third sentence. I see some parents know exactly what we're talking about. Later, Amy Schumer, who said in her monologue that the only nominated movie she watched was Encanto, which, because she had a toddler, she'd seen 190 times. Just so you know, one of the nominated movies in this category is Flee, which is about a refugee fleeing his country, and it's not the most kid-friendly movie on the planet.
Yeah.
You
Also
know?
has gay representation in it
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
So
definitely.
it's not like
And it's
Disney.
a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
It was a it could have
Yeah.
easily been a contender for best film regardless.
Yeah. But their kids watched Encanto, so they were like,
It's
Let's
not
nominate
yeah,
him.
it's
Yeah.
not for
Of course. This had received some backlash, obviously, and this has not inspired, but continued the idea of wage problems for animators and people working on animation. Phil Lord, who worked on Into the Spider-Verse and the Lego Movie, said this on Twitter. Super cool to position animation as something that kids watch and adults have to endure. Shannon Tyndall on Twitter, another animator, we spend years pitching, writing, storyboarding, designing directly, and rewriting only to have our medium spoken down to and publicly mocked at less than half the price of our colleagues in live action. Unacceptable. #New Deal for animation. Alex Hernandez, this belittling of animation starts with the disparity in wages. What they did at the Oscars is just a little example of how they profit off the medium without recognizing its worth. Now, I completely agree with what they say, and I think this also puts into perspective how obsessed Americans are with live action, right?
Yeah.
And turning.
That's why it's a
go ahead.
big reason. No, yeah, I was gonna go off your thing.
Yeah,
But it's
definitely.
a big reason why people don't get into anime or like just disregard anime. It's like, oh, it's cartoon. It's not for adults. It's for kids.
Wasn't Demon Slayer rated R?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, it's just we're obsessed with that stuff, and I just wish that the Oscars started treating it like it is. It's an art form, just like plays, just like movies.
It's not a genre. It has its
Yeah,
own genres.
exactly. Like it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of art that can be stretched and expanded in multiple different areas.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a medium to watch that can tell a load full of different stories that some ways that live action can't do.
Yeah.
But I understand where this like wall comes from. It's just like back then, like that was like the only way to get. That was like the only way kids like watch. They would only watch cartoons, so it would only be seen as that. So when you like see them hand in hand, you can't like look at something first like that and say that this seems like it's for kids. And it's understandable to do that.
But even if like they were correct, like let's go off the basis that every cartoon is for kids, right? Unless it's for preschoolers. I always go back to this quote by C.S. Lewis that says, you know, if a kid's story can only be enjoyed by children, it's not a good children's story. Yeah. You know, my favorite show of all time is a kid show,
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
You know, that's the third time I've mentioned it in this podcast.
I don't blame you. It's like me mentioning.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't
Attack on Titan. Probably.
Well, yeah, but I don't mention it as much as you.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, it's and I continue to enjoy it because even though I know it's for kids, or the demographic is for kids, it can be enjoyed by everyone. I watched Encanto, and I didn't think it was the best in the world, but I liked it.
Yeah,
you know. And I watched Red last week, and I enjoyed it too. But just because it's for kids doesn't mean you can't watch it and be like and enjoy it. You know,
it's just, I mean, there's a lot of Disney adults who would definitely disagree with what the Oscars basically said, because like they wouldn't be going to Disney.
Don't bring up Disney adults in this podcast.
No, but there's a reason why there's so many of them, because they just Pixar and Disney just do a good job at telling stories that don't pander to kids, but could be enjoyed by literally anybody.
Yeah, like Invincible. One of the biggest, you know, like not for kids at all.
Definitely not for kids.
And Marvel even profited off of this with What If. Yeah. You know, like I just don't know what world the Oscars are living in. I just wish that they cared about all the awards and not just the ones that happen at the last 30 minutes of their program.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just sad. And we're about to get into, I'm pretty sure, Ben, a lot of reasons why the Oscars are like a big.
That's one of them why I don't like it.
And that is a very I almost forgot about that, because there's a lot of things that they did at the Oscars that
why don't you tell me, Edgar?
I don't know if you heard, Ben, but a certain actor slapped another certain actor. No. Did you know? I know you people are probably tired of hearing this, but this is coming fresh off. It's still relatively fresh to when we're talking about it and reacting to it. And I really don't want to talk about it. I really want to talk about the Oscars themselves, but I'll touch on this one event very briefly, because, to be honest, it's kind of stupid. Will Smith slapped Chris Rock after making a joke about his wife, Will Smith's wife, Jada Smith. Mm-hmm. Let me look up what the condition is called. It's basically balding. Is what he made it a joke at the expense of her. Basically, G.I. Jane 2. Yeah. Is about a woman with a shaved bald head. Alopecia. There you go.
It's low hanging fruit.
Men have it. But it's not really the event that has me riled up and that makes me like roll my eyes. It's like the reaction that everyone's doing is that. Yeah. And especially on Twitter, which is like an absolutely toxic dumpster fire of a social media platform. But you see people like taking everyone's opinion on its head and just basically making it seem like that's like your only like opinion in it. Like making it's like the new like when you're dating somebody, like, oh, what's your thought on this? Because if you say this, and I'm not going to date you, or if you say this, you're an absolutely horrible human being. Right. But it's really dumb. When I was watching it, I was like, I couldn't believe this is happening. Like, I thought it was a skit. Everyone thought it was a skit. I was texting my friend. I texted you. I'm like, did you just see what happened? Like, is it real? Like, are you saying this? And
what do you think? Do you think it's fake?
No, I think it's real. But if it is fake, hands down, they should get Oscars for that performance. Because like, I just can't believe it.
The only thing for me is there's no way Will Smith's entourage didn't know Chris Rock was going to tell that joke.
See, and that's the thing. People are giving Chris all this hate, but like you said, that the lines that those three actresses, like when they presented the anime, those lines were given to them. So what if this joke was given to him? And
That's
let's
what I'm
say,
saying, yeah.
so like maybe this isn't Chris Rock has like, and people are like looking into what they say, like it's a G.I. Jane joke. The way he reacts, like I didn't like this is just a joke that I was given. Like I didn't want to say this. But even if he did say it, people are blowing this way out of proportion. They're actors. Who cares? They're celebrities. They make more money than us. They don't live anywhere where most of us, anywhere near us.
Who cares?
This
Like,
is so
what I'm
stupid.
saying.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
Like I know we're talking about it on our podcast, and I'm probably gonna have this down on its own section. But like this we were just talking about this to just say, who cares? Move on. Please.
Exactly.
There was wholesome things that happened at the Oscars that were completely missed.
Exactly, and that was the biggest disappointment for this Oscars season is that no one's gonna remember this Oscars, or at least a majority. No one's gonna remember this Oscars for anything that won. It's just gonna be Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
Yeah.
And I was in the very few, still millions, but I was in the very few people who actually watched the Oscars for watching the Oscars because I like movies. I love films, and I don't.
Me and him are very different on
yeah,
this.
I mean, I agree. I don't like rich people patting themselves on the back and like and you know.
I like award ceremonies. It's just because
Hollywood
it's like
and
the Oscars.
It's one of the few ways to give recognition to people who don't normally get recognition.
Yeah, and I think it's fun. Like I think the Emmys is so fun.
Yeah,
you know, and I usually agree with who wins.
It's just I want and I like seeing it for that reason. It's like a sports team. Like you want to see them win. You want to see certain films that you followed along that you enjoyed and that you want to win, and you all for this night to come up. And it's also fun to see all these actors meet together, and it's also like it's like an extra thing you get. But and people don't watch it for that reason, and it's just I find it hilarious that people are having such heated takes on it when they weren't even watching it in the first place, and the only reason they care about it is for this stupid thing that happened. It's just and I was watching majorly watching this all on Twitter, and a very loud, I say minority, but a very loud certain audience is only going to be on Twitter that you won't find. On YouTube, it's way more calmer and way more discussed. And on Reddit, it's way less calmer and not blown out of proportion. You're going to find a lot of toxic stuff on Twitter. Just like don't get all, if you don't know what's going on, just like don't get all your information from there regardless. Like go read actual news articles. But yeah, those are my thoughts on it.
Great.
Dune won a lot of awards.
Dune did?
So happy for
Did it win Best Picture?
No, it didn't.
What
it won Best. It's so dumb. I was happy that Coda won. You should go check out the film, but I feel like with this going on, the whole Will Smith thing, people aren't going to get flocked to it as much as people did with Parasite when that won Best Film. Which is another reason why I'm disappointed. Films that win awards aren't going to get that certain.
I've never heard of it. Yeah,
that certain like spike that goes on with like, oh, let's go see these films that won, but that's not going to get as much attention now because of what happened. But I was happy to see that certain films won. Dune won 6 awards.
That's good.
Including Best Cinematography. Greg Fraser, who did the cinematography for the Batman.
That's good.
And Hans Zimmer, 30 years since he won The Lion King for his Oscar Best Score, won Dune for Best Score.
Yeah.
So that was good to see.
So yeah, Edgar, you said you had something about dubbing, right?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you saw this too because it was also on Twitter.
I mean, it's the industry that I want to get in, so no comments from me.
So the thing that sprung this up was this article and this tweet that I saw on Twitter. Anime News Network posted this. This is the headline. The tweet, at least, they said. The Crunchyroll merger has created the largest and most powerful anime company outside of Japan. Yet, pay rates for dubbing are among the lowest in the acting business, and the problem is even worse in anime. And I can have the.
I just want to say from my own experience, I work with a lot of professional theaters in Dallas, and I work with a lot of people who work with Funimation, right? And every time I talk with them and I say that I want to, dub for Funimation as a living, they all look at me in amazement because they're like, the pay is so low. For me, it's a lot because I'm still a young working actor who goes from paycheck to paycheck, but everyone is just so shocked. They're like, why would you want to do that? And this feeds into it. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw an actor touch on it. Let's see what this tweet says. A lot of basically this funny because this tweet didn't get a lot of likes and like retweets, but a lot of people did replies to this tweet, talking about it. This is a tweet that I saw that I liked, that I thought was interesting. I don't care what your opinion on dubs is. There is absolutely no reason a movie that was competing with the Batman paid their actors 150 to 600 each. This was generally per session is what the number they gave in the article, which I'm going to touch on in a little bit. The tweet continues, "Are you out of your mind? Dub actors are amazing and deserve to be compensated for a livable wage."
Agreed.
It's always a topic in around dubs that's saying like, "Oh, dubs aren't good or they don't get good quality." And there's a lot of reasons why a dub can't be good, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Still, a majority of actors, more than 95%. I don't know what the number is. I'm gonna say all the actors, for the most part, who put their work in dubs care about anime because it is not a profitable job
No.
aspect. It is not.
And like I said, getting into the industry is hard. But the place where most of them make their money is through cons, and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
It should be they should be able to make just a livable wage off of what they're doing, you know.
And it just talks about the article discusses what unions are.
Yeah.
Because the biggest one is the Screen Actors Guild, which is basically they deal with while agencies will get actors jobs, unions will make sure that they'll be paid decent wages for whatever they get, no matter what time they get. They deal with that kind of stuff, and
hey man, I'm almost in a union, and that's like it's important for an actor because when you take a job, they can treat you, if you're non-equity, they can treat you anyway. Because mine is, of course, actors' equity because I work in stage a lot. But they can treat you anyway, pay you any wage. But this is, you know, SAG specifically is very much making sure you get paid, you know, correctly for your work.
Yeah.
And you know, dubbing is work.
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't think, at least to my knowledge, it doesn't seem like actors, when they get these jobs, the jobs they get aren't backed by these unions. So they're not going to be given good pay, and they're not going to be backed by screen unions. So there's a lot of call now for.
I'm not 1,000,000,000% sure about that, but not that it doesn't take a heavy influence if that's the case.
Yeah, because if they were backed by a union, or if they were in a union, this definitely wouldn't be happening.
No,
but
definitely not.
But here's a quote that I saw that is interesting. In the article itself, it mentions that employers are conditioned to believe that any actor who asks for too much can easily be replaced with someone else. Kyle McCarley said that. He voices Mob in the Mob Psycho 100 dub.
Brilliant. He's awesome.
But when we have the support of all our peers, we can stand firm on a certain minimum requirements without the fear of being replaced. That's always like a big thing that they touch on, is that you can't, so stupid that in work, even in regular jobs, a lot of companies find it unacceptable in a sense to not discuss what you make with other people.
Yeah.
And especially with this happening now, it's even dumber that you can't mention what you're getting paid for when it's already
absurd. Yeah.
They some pay like per line, and like the per line wage is like ridiculously low, and it goes on to mention that some actors, when they do these jobs and they can last to as short as an hour, they can hurt their voice, and some actors lose their voice when doing.
Some actors pass out. Like I remember Sean Schemmel in one of the Dragon Ball movies passed out, and it was a huge thing. Yeah.
Just imagine like working, doing this small time gig and coming in for asking them. They ask for a lot, and sometimes it is unacceptable when they ask for this much and this amount of like time constraint, and you lose your voice, or at least you lose your ability to do it for a month. That's what you're working with, your voice, because that's all you got. So that's just, they really need some help with that.
Yeah, and I also think that it is changing, because I think people are realizing now, especially the voice actors for One Piece and Dragon Ball, they are celebrities, you know, which is just like, especially with dub acting, like, wasn't necessarily the case for very long, but like Sean Schemmel, Chris Sabat, Eric Vale, you know, all of these people have become, you know, huge icons. And I think that to usher in the new generation, you need to pay them respectfully, because I know like a lot of my friends are like, I'm close friends with the lead who does the dub for Horimiya and another character in Horimiya, and yeah, like they're great. They deserve to be paid respectfully, and
I'm glad this is getting light. It's getting a lot of
Yeah.
backing, and I hope that Crunchyroll, and this centered around Crunchyroll because they are now the leading in anime streaming.
yeah. And if you don't know, we both agree dub is a great way to watch anime. We wholeheartedly agree. Me and Edgar, we very much differ. Sometimes he watches sub, sometimes I watch dub, sometimes we both watch dub.
I think it's unanimously agreed upon that if it wasn't for dubs, it wouldn't be as popular as anime wouldn't be as popular as it would be
1,000,000,000%
in America in the West if there wasn't for dubs. And don't even get me started on how much translators get paid.
Yeah.
They have to learn one of the most difficult languages in the world. You would not have subs if it weren't for translators, and they don't even get paid enough.
And the people who write the scripts and have to match the lip flaps. Dubbing is hard. It's much harder than regular voice acting because you have to match the flaps.
Getting anime over here is
it's hard.
difficult, and I find a lot. Every time I hear people complain about dubs, I get it. You don't like it, but like completely shutting out and dissing and just trashing like this median to sell anime to people is ridiculous.
Yeah, and stop going after the actors, guys. Like most of the time, if somebody is in a bad dub, it is not because of the actor.
There's a lot of reasons.
There's something in the higher ups that just because like there are a lot of actors who do stinky stuff. I've done a lot of stinky stuff as an actor, right?
Yeah, it's producers, directors, people who write the scripts themselves.
I hope people don't judge me off of that and go, well, he's stinky because he did this stinky project.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely agree with that. All right, you ready to move on, bud?
Yeah.
All right, great. So today, our main topic is Dr. Stone and Fire Force. Recently, they both ended about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we had some thoughts. First, we're going to do a quick little non-spoiler thing, just about 5 minutes, just to talk about if it was satisfactory for anime watchers, if you're like, should it be something that I continue to watch? Because if it doesn't have a satisfactory ending, why would you watch it? Sorry. Something stuck in my throat.
Oh, yeah, it's something awful in your throat. Man.
Yeah. They just announced, sorry, a little tangent. They just announced their sequel series and
what do you mean?
The House of Dragons or something.
Isn't that a prequel?
It's a prequel, sorry. And I'm just like, I don't care. Anyway, who
cares?
Yeah, who cares? Yeah, we're just gonna talk about it.
Do you want to give synopsis for?
We'll do that whenever we go into spoilers. No,
we should just do it now.
We don't need to do a synopsis. I don't think people know what this is about.
Surely. I guess.
Yeah.
But...
yeah. But yeah. So, Edgar, why don't you tell us your thoughts about the ending of Dr. Stone? Not spoiler, of course.
No, yeah. When I read Dr. Stone. Well, I first watched the anime. That's how I first got into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read the manga eventually, and reading it was a hell of a journey. I think it goes unsaid that the artwork, the illustrator, Boichi, is probably top 5 illustrators to begin with. So if you're watching the anime and you want to read the manga, you'll be doing yourself a favor if you read the manga, because not only is it just as enjoyable and just as bingeable and just as funny as the show is, the artwork is absolutely amazing, and watching its journey through the story was a treat. You always learn new things, and the whole basis and premise of the show is just them doing things with actual science to get to these location A to B, or task 1 to 2. Like, just doing things that we have in our world takes a lot of steps, and the way they get to those points is amazing to see, to say in short. And the ending itself, if to put it in some words at least, was abrupt. Yeah. I still like the show. I still like it. I rate it an 8 out of 10. Ben, you have your own rating. But
yeah, we have very separate. I rate like almost everything I love a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, and I'll get to how ratings in a bit, because it's not awful. It's not awful. It's not bad. I liked it. I don't hate it. I'll still be rewatching it when it's over, I'll be rereading it, I'll be studying it, I'll be watching the anime even as it gets adapted to later seasons. But I liked it. I just felt like it was really abrupt. We didn't get a proper ending. It didn't even feel open-ended, but it did feel open-ending, but that wasn't clear at all, in my opinion. There was no real climax. It felt like, it didn't even feel like it rushed there. It just like, we're getting there, and then it just ended. And I'm like,
it just kind of crumbled a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not like, it's not a reason to not watch the rest of the series.
No.
You know?
No, you can. I was when it brought up the ideas that it did when it came to the fun.
Alexa, stop. Sorry,
My Alexa turned on.
Just started to play some funky tunes.
I want to listen back and see what it heard to think that.
I don't know.
Sorry, that was my Alexa dot, guys. It just started. I thought my brother or somebody was playing music. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Oh, that was funny.
Whatever. So I was gonna say that it was introducing its antagonist this whole time. This is, when I say non-spoilers, it means like people who've watched the anime, but I still lightly touch on it for your safety. But the whole thing is to figure out who turned the world to stone, and this whole time we're wondering what happened, who started it, was it a device, was it aliens, was it this or that? And in the manga, it eventually touches on where the source came from, and what is used to turn the world to stone. And then at the very end, in the last 10 chapters, relatively around there, we discover just the fact that it's within 10 chapters that we realize who it is, and then it ends within 10 chapters.
I would say, you have to realize Dr. Stone chapters are a little bit longer than others. I would arguably say it's 5 the last 5 when we figure out who it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like within 5 chapters that we figure out who or what turned the world to stone. And and then it ends with that same amount of chapters.
We'll talk about why that happens and spoilers.
What's your thoughts on it?
No, I agree with everything that you said. So I'm not.
Would you still rate it the same?
I still rate it the same because I thoroughly enjoyed the entirety of the series when
Me
in
too.
a rating. It's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I loved it.
I think it's
saying
a masterpiece.
that.
Yeah, I think the fact that they were even able to create a manga that was so science heavy and so science true is I just think makes it a masterpiece
just puzzles
on his own.
It's just them figuring out stuff. Is just so fun to watch, and they're so funny, all the characters, and
it's great.
It's a treat to watch. It's really unique. It was one of the most unique things in Shonen Jump when it was running in manga, and will be in anime. So
what do you think about Fire Force?
I thought it was great.
All right, moving on to spoilers.
I thought it was great. Period.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Great.
I watched like most things that I read manga. I watched the anime first, and I just couldn't wait. So I just started reading the manga. And before getting into Fire Force, I was a huge fan of Soul Eater. Tsushi Okubo was the author of Soul Eater and wrote Fire Force, so I was already a huge Soul Eater fan, so that was the reason why I got into Fire Force.
Right.
Fire Force, I loved the show. It's not that big or that easy to watch. Well, not easy. I feel like a lot more people are into Dr. Stone, so the people who do watch or read Fire Force are a very supportive and loud group. And I feel like deserves more recognition. And there's a lot of reasons why people don't watch it, and I don't blame them for it, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
I liked the ending. I thought it was satisfactory. I thought it ended more. It had a better epilogue. I like it when stories, you see where the characters that you follow end up with. You feel satisfied that they achieved their goals. You see them achieve the goal that they wanted. I like it when stories have parallels, or they show that remind you of the first few chapters. We're like, man, I can't believe they got here from here, or they wanted this and now they got this. Yeah. And I love it when shows or stories do that with their characters or their stories. And I agree with that, because it's like manga, we spend such a long time with these characters, and it's kind of like if we look at
Game of Thrones, we spent like how long was it? Like 60 hours with these characters, and for it to fall, just kind of quickly and flat it's just disheartening to see. But I agree with you. I think Fire Force had a very satisfactory ending.
And the artwork is amazing. Like, absolutely. It's so wacky. It's not wacky, but like, I don't know, his style if I was like a mangaka and I would like to be a mangaka in the future, I love his style and the way like he draws his characters, very unique designs. And they're so like bold and simplistic at times, and then they're super detailed. They're like, he gets super into details, and like the way he designs this world is like something that I really was fascinated about, and why I bought literally every single manga book up to now. I'm 26 and there's 32, so I have like, I don't know, like 6 more to go. I don't know if I did the math right, but I felt satisfied in the end, to say the least. I gave it a 9 out of 10 as a whole in the manga, and I'm looking forward to the anime. It has a great anime adaptation, and I can't wait.
So overall, keep watching Dr. Stone, keep watching Fire Force, keep supporting these awesome stories. We just think one of them had a little bit better conclusion. All right, Edgar, you ready to go on into spoilers?
Yeah.
All right, spoiler alert. If you haven't read the manga, don't click on here.
For both of these.
Just preface that. So we're going to start with Fire Force.
I feel like I was going to start with this too, because I don't feel as strongly as I do towards Dr. Stone with this one.
Sure, yeah. Fire Force. Mind if I read some stuff off at you, Edgar?
Yeah.
Fire Force. Fire Force was written and illustrated by Asushi Okubo. Was serialized in Kodansha Shonen Manga Magazine, Weekly Shonen Magazine. I probably pasted that twice, and I just read that twice. From September 23rd, 2015, ended serialization on February 22nd, 2022, on Chapter 304. Anime started July 6th, 2019, was animated by David Productions, who also did JoJo's. The first volume was released on February 17th, 2016. As of February 2022, the manga has over 17.5 billion copies in circulation. The series ranked number 13 in the nationwide bookstore employees recommended comics of 2017 poll on Honya Club online bookstore. Gadget Tsushin listed the Prayer for Infernals Latome on the 2019 most popular animated related buzzwords. On TV Asahi's Manga Sosenkyo on 2021 poll, in which 150,000 people voted for the top 100 manga series, Fire Force ranked number 84. That's pretty good. Fire Force was nominated for Best Shonen Manga Magazine under Kodansha's 41st Annual Manga Awards. However, it eventually lost to Altair, A Record of Battles. On my anime list, it has the highest rated it at 8, and the second highest rated it a 7, and the third a 9. The most popular characters is Benimaru with 3,000, Shinra Kusakabe with 2.5, and Iris with 2,000.
Nice.
So yeah, Edgar, why don't you tell me, and just touching on, was the last, let's say, 3 chapters satisfactory?
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of talked about that, but why was it satisfactory?
Well, it's because you could see where they, like I said, you just see an ending in a sense. You see that, like, I liked how you could see Shinra, like, it's debatable whether you like it when they do time skips, but they did a time skip and they didn't really. I don't know. It's hard to describe. They just show where the characters end up. Like, you can see like the whole gang basically wants to like protect and oversee the world and like make sure it goes all right. I forgot what the task force was called. It's been like a few weeks since I read the ending again. But seeing Arthur and Shinra grow up, and then Arthur and the dragon, and Arthur has Excalibur, and they're ready to explore the world, and seeing what's her face? It's not Iris. It's Inca as a witch. Yeah. The first witch was a very big treat to see. And her wanting to have kids with Shinra was like absolutely hilarious. Yeah. And you can see that it's hinted that Iris, at least Iris for now, ended up with Shinra, and I don't know if Arthur ended up with anybody. I'm glad it didn't go with like you get a partner, you end up with this person, and you end up with that, you get married. It's kind of like cheesy, but I like it that you can see them end up. Like it's I like it when they do that, when they give us those things, because I hate it when they like have interest. Especially this mainly happens with very Shonen Jump specific manga. you get there's a protagonist, they like somebody, and they don't end up together, and like, why the hell did he even bother to bring that up?
Yeah, and then in the sequel series that takes place 50 years later, you realize that they did get together, and you're just like, okay, well, what? You know?
Yeah, romance isn't a big
crazy.
thing that's focused on in Fire Force, but it is like
it's pretty, it's heavy.
It's touched on.
Heavy, yeah.
And what was funnier to me, what I really liked, is that Company Number 2's lieutenant, the one who could see like thermal readings through his eyes and can basically detect where fire is going to be. He ends up dying in the second season. Spoiler alert, and he gets his head chopped off by like one of the people who work with the evangelists. What were they called? The
Evangelicist or something?
Or no, I think it's a religion. The White Clad.
The White Clad. There you go. Yeah.
The White Clad, the girl who ends up getting killed by the nuke guy. Oh, man, I'm fumbling with the names here. But people who read Fire Force know what I'm talking about. She ends up getting killed, and then essentially Shinra ends up bringing everyone back to life.
Yeah.
After he fights the evangelist, combined with Haumea, and they're the final boss in the end. Shinra ends up stopping them. He resets the world to where death is a bit more fluid and more comfortable in a sense than the way he put it.
And so it becomes watch Soul Eater, the anime.
Yeah, it's a prequel. It's a confirmed prequel of Fire Force, and that was such a big treat for me.
Do you think could you see how some people might be like who only watch Fire Force and are big fans of Fire Force? Because I've seen this a little bit online of people going like, hey, I haven't read Soul Eater, and I don't care about Soul Eater. Why are you ending my story that I love with like the prequel to Soul Eater? You know? Could you see that?
I could see that, but I feel like it wasn't as you wouldn't feel as lost because you still see where these characters end up, and they do explain why they do certain things. Because in the end, Shinra defeats the enemy, and he reset the world to be more wacky in a sense, more like crazier than usual, and bringing everyone back who ever died, especially due to the infernalization or whatever, getting fire combustion.
Yeah.
You see,
sorry, it's been a couple of weeks, you guys.
Yeah, I know. I don't feel like it was shunning out those people. I feel like you still got a certain ending. It was just very heaven-handed with heaven. Hard. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Heavy-handed with the fan service for Soul Eater fans. It was even better for us, but I feel like you can still read it without reading Soul Eater and still get a good, satisfying ending.
Yeah, and see, my response to that, because I am one of those people.
Yeah.
I haven't read Soul Eater, but I have read Fire Force, and it just makes me excited to read Soul Eater now. But
that was what I majorly saw online. People were like, "Hey, should I read this?" They weren't. Well, there might be some people still mad that like I didn't like that it's a blah prequel, but I got more of, at least from what I saw, people were just like, "Oh, that was good. Should I read this?" ?
Yes, you should. But jumping back on that, like my idea of it is, let's say if the creator like took that and just decided, okay, this is going to be a prequel, right?
Yeah.
But everything that was said, everything with the pillars, everything with the Adola Burst, all of this part of the story was built up for Shinra creating a new world, right? That was defined, that it was going to happen, that the great cataclysm will bring a new age to the world.
Yeah.
And that was built up throughout the entirety of the series, and it was delivered. It just so happened that it was the Soul Eater world that he was creating, which I think is just awesome. Like,
he did a bang up job by like getting more people interested in his other series, but like you said, all the things that were promised were delivered in a sense. I feel like that it was stumbled its way there, at least with his themes and ideologies. I feel like he got a bit too into himself. Yes. That when he started, I feel like I was like reading like paragraphs or like a monologue of like.
I agree. I think it took a while to get there, and I'm not the biggest fan of the anime, and because of fan servicey moments that I'm just like.
Yeah, I can see how you can get lost. It only focuses on one character, and that's what's her name? Tamaki.
Yeah.
The fan service always only focuses on her.
It's a bit unbearable at times.
Yeah.
You know, especially in the first season.
But what's interesting is that you see, like, I've seen, like, I think it's just because it's just her. And she's, like, the only one in this entire series where it focuses on her. Normally in anime, you'll see way more fan service, but it's, like, spread throughout different characters, and that's why it's more annoying.
It just feels a little bit out of place for me.
Because it's only her, and I can see why people...
But I'm not like, there was one moment in season 1 where I was, like, thinking of dropping it because it was becoming unbearable. Because there was, like, one episode where she was, like, the main character, and it just happened every 5 seconds. But it's not, like... But it didn't happen after that, you know? And it made me, like, facepalm after that, but I wasn't like, ugh, you know?
Yeah, it only happens... It happens less and less... in terms of fan service, with her character, it happens less and less throughout the series, except 2 chapters or 3 chapters. It specifically focuses on her, and it's like a whole satirical point on why fan service. It should have been. It's really funny. Some people might find it really stupid, but I just find it hilarious that this. Man, it was so funny. Like in her fight with against what's his name, another white clad guy. The one with the, not arrow, but I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, but I think
assault. There you go.
Yeah, I agree with you that I think it took it had a little bit of issues getting its themes and its points across.
Yeah.
Especially with you know some of the religious stuff. I think he struggled at. But the last 30 chapters, he really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Like, and here's the thing. I think a satisfactory beginning and ending is the most important part probably of all of storytelling. Yeah. And he delivered. The first episode of Fire Force is still one of the best episodes of anime I think I've ever watched.
Yeah, it's a good it's really good. It's a good starter, and it's always a big selling point when someone asks, like, should I watch this? Does it end well? Is a big question that I ask. And I can confidently say that, it ends well. You'll feel satisfied. You won't end up hating it. Yeah. Whether you want to continue it because of its faults in the middle or not is up to you. Yeah. I feel like you should keep reading or keep watching as it goes on. I really liked it.
Also, don't take that out of context. Obviously, the climax and the build-up is important.
Yeah.
But what's really important is the first impressions and the last impressions.
Arthur's fight was like one of the best moments.
It's one of the best moments. It's one of those things that you read and it inspires you. Like, I read that and I was like, I'm gonna go draw.
It's a fight that happens like 5 chapters or so, or like. And the chapters go from like 23. They're like a tiny bit longer than regular Shonen Jump chapters, but it was just like him fighting and like little to no dialogue. Yeah. It's just like I can imagine like in the anime how it'll be adapted. It's just like full sound effects and like them making moves. Yeah. And it's just like little talking.
Yeah. And Arthur is one of my favorite characters in all of anime. For me, like I love Shinra. But Arthur's the reason why I come back and read. Him and Captain Obi are my 2 favorites. And Benimar. There's so many good characters, but those are my top 3. And Arthur has a really, really good moment that made me tear up a little bit when he saw the dragon go overhead. And he was like, And he stood by his character. And this is what I think he did so well. Like, maybe he messed up a little bit on his themes, but I think the character development in this is great because the characters had their same personality, had their same vibrato throughout the whole series, but they changed through their relationships because, you know, Shinra and Arthur's relationships became a really, really, you know, nice friendship.
Seeing them as adults, like, all cool, it's just, it's great to see. And the reason why I feel more satisfied to this as Dr. Stone is that it shows you that they're satisfied the way they ended, and it shows you what they did after, like what happened after. Because like before the time jump happens in the very last chapter, and you get like 2 or 3 chapters of the after the climax. So I like it, and it's already way more than Dr. Stone because it only happens in 1 chapter. You see that them do things of what they wanted to do. You see Rekka like wanting to travel the world, and I forgot what he's saying, but seeing Rekka again with interacting.
Exactly. Everybody finished in the place where they should finish, and that was great. Like Rekka wanted a world that was filled with greenery that he could discover, and he did it. Like he earned that.
Are you talking about Vulcan or?
Oh, Vulcan. Sorry, not Rekka.
That does happen for Vulcan, but
sorry.
no, that's okay. Vulcan. That's what Vulcan does. And just seeing everyone happy, it's great. I just like seeing an ending where like you can see everybody like not saying that happy endings have to be happy.
They don't have. They're like not all endings need to be happy.
Yeah.
You know.
I'll explain. It's really hard to describe why I like it so much. I just love Fire Force as a series, and I was always gonna follow it through whatsoever. And I do recommend to read Soul Eater. It's just to sum up, it's hard to describe why I like it so much, but it'll be more easy to explain when I discuss what I had problems with Dr. Stone. But to sum up, love Fire Force. Go read it. Go read Soul Eater. Hopefully Ben reads it and tells me about it because I thought it was great.
What's out of 10 Adola bursts? What would you rate out of it?
The manga 9 out of 10 Adult burst.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I would rate it a 9 as well.
Yeah, I loved it.
Wow, it's like where. Anyway,
It's like one mind.
Anyway, let's move on to Dr.
Stone.
I'm gonna read off a little bit of the statistics here. Dr. Stone, written by Riichiro Inagaki and illustrated by Boichi. Dr. Stone was launched in the 14th issue of Shueisha's Weekly Shonen Jump on March 6, 2017. And finished serialization March 7th, 2022 on Chapter 232. The first volume was published in September 2018. The series aired July 5th, animated by TMS Entertainment, also known very popularly for Lupin the Third, Detective Conan, and Akira, and some American animation such as Spider-Man the Animated Series from the 90s and Batman the Animated Series, both from the 90s.
Very cool.
Yeah, they also animated the original Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain as well, which is
That's crazy.
just crazy.
Yeah, because it's like Western animation. Just to
Mhm.
know that they're working with. That's just great. That's just great to hear.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have a whole bunch of awards, but we'll just talk about the TV Asahi's manga Sosenkyo 2021 poll, the one where 150,000 people voted and Fire Force ended up in 84. Dr. Stone was ranked exactly number 100.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. If you
that it
thought
just
those
snuck in
numbers,
there.
if you thought this number and like the number with Fire Force were low, there's a lot of mangas out there,
Yeah.
and they get moved around a lot. So this number is like highly impressive, and it's a very hard feat to beat, especially in such a cutthroat market and business where like it's all about like this better be good or we're dropping it, because they do that sometimes in Shonen Jump. They drop shows or series that are not meeting their level of expectations.
Yeah. On my anime list, just to preface, my anime list isn't a good place to like. I just
No.
thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people.
It's the most
rate-
popular
yeah.
rated
Yeah.
website where people could put in their opinions, and
Yeah.
for the most part, it's a good idea to see what people think about a show. But it is not 100% accurate because you'll get people spamming.
It is more popular than Fire Force on my anime list, and it does have a higher rating of 8. Most people go with 8, and then the second most 9, and then the third most 10, which is the Fire Force was 8, 7, and then 9. Most favorite characters: Senku with nearly 20,000, Gen with about 3,000, and Chrom with about 900. So yeah,
I'm pretty sure you're upset that Taiju is not in there.
Taiju is not in there. No, Taiju's I think in the I don't know. But anyway, so Edgar likes Fire Force more than Dr. Stone, right?
Yeah, but for different reasons. Like on a
I was just gonna say, I think you like Fire Force.
Yeah.
And I like Dr. Stone a little bit better.
Yeah, it's
you know?
I prefer it, and I like it more than
Yeah.
Dr. Stone. I haven't bought any of the Dr. Stone manga. Just because I don't buy a manga doesn't mean it's I like it, but there's an obvious reason why I bought Fire Force and I don't have Dr. Stone.
Yeah.
Just because I like it. It's,
See,
just,
like,
it's just
I've bought Dr. Stone, but I
it's-
haven't bought Fire
it's just my
Force.
vibe.
Yeah.
But I did read Dr. Stone. I did like go through with it, but
Yeah.
But Ben likes it. I can see why. I understand 100% why Dr. Stone is more marketable. Why people can get more into it. It's super simple to get into. It doesn't go into like themes like religion and like and death like Fire Force does. It's just
Everybody
funny.
kind of escapes death in Dr. Stone, except for well, actually, I was about to say except for his uncle, but the ending kind of nullifies. I mean, his adopted parent.
Yeah.
But the ending kind of nullifies that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Dr. Stone, overall, I would rate it 10 out of 10 because it's one of my favorite series that I've ever read.
Yeah.
However, the manga, so what happens is at the end, he finds the people, and spoiler, if you're still here and you don't want to know, leave. The people, the things that petrified the entire world are basically alien animatronics, right?
Yeah, machines.
Yeah,
AI.
And they did it because they thought humanity wanted to live forever, and they were like, why don't you want to be stoned? Come on. You know. And Senku beats it in about the span of like a chapter, and then they go back.
But beat it more like discussing.
And I think what happened is, so the whole series was based off of real science that has happened in the real world.
Yeah, they did research. They had to take breaks throughout this running of a manga to do. We're going to do some research because we want this to be accurate. So that's what we mean. They literally did research to make sure that what they were doing was scientifically accurate. That's really impressive. It's why I like the manga so much.
Yeah, and so now they're dealing in things that science in our world as of right now can't explain.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of backed away from it, and he was like, okay, like, it could be possible to make this because, you know, don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah.
But I can't explain it because, I mean, the author, even though he knows a lot about science, he's not a scientist, you know, so he can't do all that stuff. So I think as soon as theoretical science became a thing, he just kind of ended the series. And also, Dr. Stone has a major flaw, and that is too many characters.
Yeah.
Way too many characters.
At least for the amount of runtime for the manga, because One Piece, I can imagine, has a lot of characters, but it's like over 1,000 chapters. So
right,
that makes more sense.
But they're like...
he tries to make it more prominent, like, okay, you're going to be useful now, is like what you mean. And the fact of how they got to each character is like really convenient in terms of like going throughout the world and exploring it. But I do agree with you, especially it's really hard to determine who these characters look like because they tend to look like each other sometimes.
Yeah, like there's anyway, but they pop up out of thin air. Like there's a point in the series where characters just start popping up, like they're like, oh, we need a cartographer, and then a cartographer,
let's look around a bush. There he is. I knew he was here.
I remember this
based on his last post on Instagram. He was at this location. So like
it was like, I knew a cartographer who went to South America this one time, which is just absolutely absurd. It's such an absurd way of doing things, but like I said, like he needed a certain way things to go, and things can happen as long as it leads to good ends, as long as it leads to good character moments, good moments for the story, and that arc led to the climax of the series.
Yeah, because the reason why he needed his excuse, and it makes sense, his excuse for having so many characters is because when you have a show that needs to be, in a sense, realistic as possible. Yeah. In real world, there's not a lot of people who has as much of his genius as Senku is, and even Senku only knows so much. So that's why they need experts in certain things. Otherwise, they can't get stuff done because Senku is just gonna be way too smart for his own good in the story. And you're gonna be like, oh, he can't know. That doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he needs to have these characters, introduce these characters who know all these things, and their mastery is with like sailing. With boats or with jewelry and wristwatch making. Was that?
Yeah, that was one of them.
Yeah, and then one guy with mathematics is what they crucially needed to get to space.
Yeah, coding and stuff like that.
Yeah, coding and mathematics.
Yeah, and so we soon realized that the South America arc is the climax of the series, which I think the South America arc is one of the best arcs I've ever read in manga. The epilogue of it is with Suika is fantastic. The build up to it reminded me so much of what we're experiencing right now in Attack on Titan. You know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're good.
I was hitting the desk.
Yeah.
But I was so excited after reading that and going like, okay, where do we go from here? You know, how is he going to one up this? And they don't. That's the climax of the series, and the rest is kind of an epilogue, as in sorts.
Yeah, they mentioned where they're going and what they're gonna do, and I'm like, okay, good, let's do this. And then they once they get to what I don't even remember what was like the final thing they needed before they decided to go to space. It's just like they said they're gonna go to space. I'm like, that's really cool. And then like stuff happens, and
Didn't
then
they
like,
need like
and they're
uranium
like, whoa,
or
whoa.
something? Yeah.
Yeah, and then like it just felt like whoa, we're here. Like what? We're not gonna. Okay, and then. And I had hoped that they were gonna have all this time to do this stuff for all these characters, in terms of moments, and hopefully feeling that they weren't gonna be left out, because there were already a lot of characters that we were very tied to that we feel like weren't getting enough time on the panel.
Of course, like when I started reading the manga, I texted Edgar and I was like, "Excuse me, why isn't Taiju getting enough screen time?"
Yeah,
I was like, "Because Taiju is my favorite character. Like, I don't. He's the reason. He is the emotional like tie-in to this series. He is the reason. Like, I just watched episode 1 because one of my favorite YouTube channels, Blind Wave, is reacting to it.
Yeah, and
I'm watching them and I'm like, wow. The beginning of this series is so good, and Taiju's emotional connection to Azuriha is a really, really good. And
he was just quote unquote best friend, and yet somehow he gets like shoved out of it so many times and so quickly.
And like the dub, the Dr. Stone is my favorite dub of all time. Sorry, I hit the desk again. I need to stop that.
That's okay.
But Dr. Stone is my favorite dub of all time. And in the first episode, when Taiju says, "I've loved you for hundreds, thousands of years," like I was like I cried. Like I was watching it, I was like, oh god. I was like, they fucked this shit up at the end, But I mean, sorry,
I'll bleep it out.
I'll bleep
it doesn't
that
matter.
out. What time was that?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'll figure.
Anyways, but yeah, it was just like, it just, because if you don't know what we're talking about, or you don't care about, Taiju and Azuriha, we don't get to see Taiju admit his love to Azuriha.
No, they just end up getting married.
And it's a time jump of 3 years, and they end up getting married, which for me, I feel like is just such the less interesting choice, Yeah. Or like maybe Azuriha goes up to him and tells him, or she's like, I'd known, but like that is the first thing that happens in the manga, dude.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, though it's not even the second subplot, or it's not a major subplot, but like I said before in Fire Force or with endings, a good epilogue or a good final chapters will touch back on why you started the series, or what was discussed in the beginning of the series, and their relationship was a big thing that was mentioned in the first few episodes or chapters,
right?
And the fact that they just did it like that without even really mentioning it is such a disservice to people who started it and really cared about that thing,
We're ragging on it really. We don't think it's that bad.
No,
we're ragging on it really hard right now.
The reason why we're talking about it so much is because I was just kind of flabbergasted on like, why do I not feel that satisfied with this? With the way it ended. Like, well,
Edgar, I think it's because they're writing a sequel series.
Yeah, but
I think they're going to base it off of theoretical science.
Yeah, the whole point, Ben's like theory on this is that this whole entire story, this entire manga running in this anime, is based on science that is proven in real life.
Yeah.
To get to civilization back again, to revive the world. And Ben's saying that they're going to use theoretical science.
Yeah,
now?
I think the next
like
series,
time travel and like,
I think next series is going to be like based on theoretical science. It's going to be based on like what scientists think is going to happen.
Yeah,
right?
And I don't have a problem with that. It's just it wasn't that obvious to me, and I wouldn't be that.
It wasn't that obvious to me too. But there's just so like it can't end here, bro. Like there's just so much loose ends. Like Senku and Kohaku. Like their relationship was built
Chrome.
up
like
since
there's so many characters, man. Like Chrome
Chrome had his little thing because they got married at the end.
But like I said, you can't just say they got married and you expect me to be satisfied.
Right.
Chrome was like at this point he was kind of like the second Senku because he was a scientist too, and he loved like tagging along.
Yeah.
Like let's be honest, like once Chrome was introduced, Taiju was put way in the last place in terms of important characters, and Chrome was like kind of like I don't want to say right hand man because Gen was for some reason
Gen is the second lead.
Yeah.
Until maybe Ryusui shows up.
Yeah. But there's four. Like I can say that I can say confidently. Well, it's hard to describe, but four main characters. Senku, Gen, Chrome, and Ryushi become like the four like main leaders. There's other ones obviously like Dr. Zeno becomes a prominent character and tags along with them, and Tsukasa is still more prevalent and useful and shown in the manga than Taiju is.
Yeah.
And I like that, but it's just the fact that all this and all the other characters is at the expense of not putting Taiju in as much. Yeah. I mean, it's just because
it just sucks, man.
I get it. Taiju is not a smart character. He's only useful in his strength, and there's already
stronger people show up.
Yeah, stronger. So it's like he kind of wrote itself to a corner. But I told Ben this before: is that all he has going for him is that he's Senku's best friend, and that's all you need to have him there.
Exactly,
because he could be a good moral compass. He could be like a good, simple thinking guy. Like, why don't you just
because what if? What if he learned just like a little bit of science or something? Like, what if at the end of the series he
learned something.
Brought up the idea that like fixed the rocket or something?
Oh man!
And it's because of what he learned from like with Senku. Because like at the beginning of the series, like Senku states we're like Adam and Eve. And I was like, okay, these are the two main characters of the story because this is the dawn of humanity, and if this is Adam and Eve, Adam and Steve. But
it's Adam and Eve, but not Adam and Steve.
Yeah, but it's just well, can we talk real quick? Why did
what?
Why
I'm wondering what you're gonna say.
Why did they feel the need to put a female Senku?
Oh.
When Chrome walked in and
was
like Senku,
what
Senku. And
why was that a joke? Was he dressed up as somebody, or is that
no? It was an
entirely? Actual
female who looked like Senku. Remember?
Why was that? Yeah, I do remember. I just know why.
It's just like because I reread it last night and I was like, why did they do this?
This panel could have been well.
Surely
used
it's got to be fan service, right?
No, but nothing was shown. It's just Senku as a woman. That's it. He just looks kind of like a girl.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so abrupt. That's my main issue. They could have had all these issues. Taiju could have been not used throughout the manga like this many times, as long as we get all those things that we wanted in more chapters as an epilogue. Yeah. But we just don't.
But the lead up to this arc, because this arc was like the moon travel arc or something like that. But they made the picking of like the astronauts like so much bigger than it should have been, right? Because they did like a whole like 20 chapters on who's going to be the astronauts. And
I thought they were going to bring Taiju.
Yeah.
And it makes sense who they bring along, but in the end, like Reese ends up coming too. So I'm like, why can't you just bring Taiju with you?
Exactly. But what I thought was going to happen was I thought they were going to go to the moon, and I thought somebody was going to betray them. On like somebody was a secret agent down on Earth.
Yeah.
And there was a big theory that thought it was going to be Luna, because Luna means moon in Spanish.
I didn't think that. That does make sense. I thought it was going to be some other scientist that Senku knew in the past, like Dr. Zeno.
Yeah. I thought maybe they would have had to do stuff on the moon, and then on the Earth they had to deal with something else.
Yeah, because they were putting importance and emphasis on that, like we can this rocket that we're going to build is only going to be one way. We're not going to be able to bring I can't remember why, but like they were explaining that, and then Chrome and Suika and others were like, we got to find a way to make this rocket come back, because you can't just leave Senku in the gang, whoever ends up going there, because like that just can't happen. We can't lose like that. He wants to be alive and stuff. So they're building this like in anticipation, and they end up using this two-way rocket, and they don't show them coming back after all this built up on that we're gonna save Senku by bringing him back home after this mission, and it's just another thing that they built up that wasn't really delivered in the end. Obviously it's not that important, but they were like really like shoving it down by like, look, this is how we're gonna do it. And they're having the subplot of Suika and Chrome learning, which is really nice. Ryushi's brother was teaching them. It was such a nice moment. And one of my favorite moments from the manga was showing that everyone wanted to build this two-way rocket. Like they had the votes when they showed the votes on the screen. And
everybody was voting on the two-way back.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And when they voted on that, it was really nice. Like Senku really teared up, and then Ryushi and his brother teared up, and it was such a nice moment that had such importance that wasn't resolved properly.
Yeah.
And
I just think I'm not sure. I'm very interested in seeing what can happen and what will happen afterwards. But I will stick to this. I do think that one of the greatest arcs in manga history is that South America arc, because I was on the edge of my seat. I couldn't get enough of it. And the epilogue really, really it was brilliant storytelling. It really was. But yeah, Edgar, for Dr. Stones as a series, out of 10 hot senkus, what would you rate it?
8.
8 hot senkus?
Yeah. When
Okay.
I was gonna say this, when I rate, I really like it. Like I said, I really like it. I'm still gonna come back to it, but I rate more like I do half me liking the show and enjoyable and liking it, because I'll love like stuff like Sword Art Online, and that's like from a writing standpoint, it's a garbage show, and it's not well written, and like the main character is absolutely as gray as possibly can be. But I love that show, and I'll always go back to it.
That's
so
fine,
when
that's
I rate
fine,
stuff,
yeah.
I like have like the analytical side with me, and I'll have like me just like a turn off brain watch in me combined. So I would rate a good solid 8 out of 10 or 8.5 out of 10. But if we're just doing single numbers, I'm just gonna say 8 out of 10. I would say that, because like that ending really didn't ruin it for me. You can still watch it and read it, and you can still enjoy it. It just felt, I hate it when I have like a bittersweet taste in my mouth, and I don't feel like we can see where these characters end up. Sometimes stories don't do that, but it's a series, and it promised a lot, and you could have done more chapters, but they just didn't. And if they have like a second series, like as Ben theorizes, I hope they fix that, or it makes it worth it in the end. Because man, oh man, I felt I really wish we could have seen more.
Yeah, I think in terms of my own rating, I think it's 10 hot senkus. But if I was being critical, I would probably give it a 9. If I was being critical of Fire Force, I'd probably get it an 8.5, 8 out of 10. But I just don't want to rate. I always like to look at the best of things and take the and Dr. Stone has made me so happy to read it. It has just left me in awe in some of its panels, and the fact that it's even a series, that it happened, and that it's so articulate and so real to science.
Check it out.
I think
it's really
crazy.
good.
Yeah. So what we're saying, keep watching Fire Force, keep watching Dr. Stone.
Yeah.
It's great.
Pick up the mangas. Both of their arts are unique and like outstanding.
Yeah. Just before we wrap up here, Edgar, I want to know what was your favorite, just real quick, what's your favorite arc in Fire Force and Dr. Stone?
My favorite arc in Fire Force is probably gonna be I can't remember. It's when, oh man, it's hard to describe. It's when the pillars, like the actual pillars, start coming up.
Yeah. And
they start figuring out like all this stuff. Because my favorite moments were more towards the end that weren't in that arc. But my favorite arc as a whole was the battle between the companies and the White Clads.
Yeah. Especially
when I don't think they're in the same arc. But one of my favorite moments is like when Arthur first meets Dragon and that whole fight with that skirmish, and then the pillars start rising up afterwards. So that whole section was really my favorite part of this. Was my favorite part of the story, but I had more favorite moments more towards the end.
Yeah. Dr. Stone?
Probably the South America arc or the New America City arc was really
pretty good.
Yeah.
I feel like it didn't end the best, but
how did it end? It just really continues, because you mentioned it just continues, because it feels like one arc.
Because it ends on a stalemate.
Because South America arc also goes into New Stone World arc, which is like when where Suika picks up, and then they kind of get along in the end when they revive everybody. Yeah. And there's a globetrotting arc, but that whole arc, that whole overarching story, is not really one arc, but I would like to say that was my favorite part of the series. But New America City arc or South America arc are basically my favorites. Yeah,
for me, it's probably the first act of Fire Force and the last, and then Dr. Stone would either be the Treasure Island arc or the
Treasure Island arc.
Treasure Island arc was great.
Yeah,
because that was still when the cast was still a little bit smaller. So each character, like, oh my God, who does Justin Briner play in that one? What's his character's name? Ginro. Like he dropped off the manga after that arc.
Yeah,
like he disappeared.
Well, he was he was relatively important here and there. Like he was snuck in like here and there, but it's just it's.
I loved him so
all you
much.
needed,
though.
all you needed in the end was just to have these characters in the end, and like would have in our minds we would have been like, yeah, they were in the story all the way because that's all they needed to do. But then when you think about the ending, you realize how little these characters were involved and how much they kept getting put back.
And it probably would have taken like 40 chapters to sum up every character.
I don't.
But, you know,
I don't need that. But
yeah,
like
I don't need
5 more chapters.
Yeah, that would have been pretty great.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, Edgar, why don't you talk about our season lineup?
Yeah, because I want to talk about this before it actually happens. I'm really hyped for it. So I'm going to be watching 5 shows that are coming up in the spring season lineup that should be starting as soon as April 3rd, relatively to April 9th is when all these shows will be premiering. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of shows that premiere every season. If you really are the kind of person who watches every single one of them, good luck to you because there's like, I don't know, more than 50 of them on here.
Have fun with that, dude.
Yeah.
We definitely won't be doing that.
No. But one of the number one is going to be The Rising of the Shield Hero Season 2. Mm. I love that series. Go check it out. It's a isekai. Guy gets transported to another world, and his main choice of weapon is a shield, which is an unconventional weapon which is used in isekai and fantasy. Mm-hmm. I feel like you like it. It's a great redemption story in the first season, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do with it next. Third season of Love is War, Ultra Romantic is what the season is going to be called, Season 3. It's a hilarious show. I keep recommending it to Ben. I think it's my favorite dub, one of my top 5 dubs, along with Dr. Stone. It's absolutely hilarious. You can watch it either way. It's a great romance rom-com show. It's also psychological, which makes it very unique. A good way to sell it is it's like Death Note, but with romance, and it's funny. It's hilarious. So I can't wait for that. It premieres along with Spy Family, which is another. Spy Family is a super hyped one, even though it has no. This is a new show, but it has a manga, so the manga has a huge backing. This is like the first show that's gonna have an adaptation where I've only read the manga before anything. Like I've read things before, like only after they have an adaptation, and the next thing like that will be Chainsaw Man, where I've read the manga before. So like I feel special and it feels weird me being in this very not minority, but like in this group before it gets an adaptation, because like the fans will rise up, like the numbers will spike up, and you're not gonna see Spy Family on the shows as soon as this show airs, because it's really good and it's really unique, and I feel like it's worth the watch. And I'm wondering who the dubs will be, because I feel like this could be a really good. This could be a great cast for dubs. Second season.
Do we know who's dubbing at Funimation or maybe?
No,
Sentai?
we don't know for any of these. Well, I would imagine. See, that's my question. Is Funimation still going to be doing dubs to them, or are they going to be partnered with Crunchyroll?
That's a good question. I actually think it might be Crunchyroll.
Yeah, but I hope they don't lose. Funimation doesn't lose.
No, Funimation Studio is still over there.
I feel like they'll focus okay, we're should be doing dubbing.
Yeah,
and,
we live in Dallas, by the way, so we're in the stratosphere.
Let's go say hi to them right now.
Yeah.
No, 2 more shows I want to mention. Komi-san Can't Communicate, second season.
Let's go.
That's on Netflix. You can give it a watch. It's very funny and it's a good watch. I would recommend it.
So wholesome.
Super wholesome. And we really mean it. Usually when people say that, it's like when it's actually not that wholesome, but it is. What's the English name for this? Shikamori is not just a cutie. This show has like a lot of it. The manga is not that big, but like if you watch the trailer, you can get an idea of why people like it. Nothing wrong with it, but like I don't know. It's usually one of those shows where like the girl is like the main seller, and I don't know. It just looks really enjoyable. I'm gonna be watching it. I'm gonna be watching all 6 of these shows. There's other shows that the spring will have, but these are the main ones, and I recommend to go checking them out. If they have a first season, go watch them. But yeah, can't wait for that.
Yeah, can't wait for that. It's gonna be great. Next week, we don't know what we're talking about.
No,
we'll figure it out.
We have a lot of ideas. I think that Funimation thing is a good thing to talk about, and what the future of Crunchyroll will be.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Maybe predictions, since we haven't read and the finale of Attack on Titan is happening.
Yeah, we might get more information. From when we're recording right now, we still haven't gotten the final episode of this apparent final season of Attack on Titan, so that'll be premiering this Sunday. We'll obviously know. I hope they announce it that day, or at least the Monday after. So hopefully by the next recording, we will know what the plan is.
Yeah.
Movie or not, new season. Oh God, I hope it's not another part 3 final season. I really hope that's not the
they're
case.
not gonna do that. It's gonna be a movie. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But we'll hopefully discuss about that in the next episode.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to our podcast. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Go to our Spotify, leave a follow, do anything you can.
Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, Apple Podcasts. Go to our Anchor. We're also going to start posting on Fridays, so make sure you check those out.
Yeah,
see all that stuff.
Yeah, special videos is what he
videos.
means. Like episodes will still come out on Mondays because we're the Manga Monday show, but we'll be having exclusive content on the YouTube page. So go check that out on there. So yeah.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Peace.